Hey guys, TV Genie here. I'm back. Sorry I've been away so long. I'm coming here tonight to review Vampire Diaries Season 4 Episode 20 titled The Originals. So let me just dive in. When the episode first started, we saw that Catherine was back in Mystic Falls. That was my first indication that the episode would not be our run of the mill episode. I knew that something was going to come to a head or some new plot point was going to become apparent. We were kind of briefed on this in the ending of the last episode when Klaus received Catherine's letter. So, we kind of were geared that something was going to occur. Um, you know, in my head, from watching this show, in Mystic Falls, we've seen from season 1 up to this season that about 90% of the characters, introduced, their families have some connection to the supernatural. I think Matt is the only person that I've seen that doesn't really have a connection to the supernatural, except by extension with his friends. But yeah, like almost everybody, most of the major people have some connection to the supernatural. I never thought that Haley would be any different. You know, like, I don't know say connection to supernatural. I mean, they have a deep rooted connection in their ancestry going way back to the original people who were in Mystic Falls. So I already assumed that Haley, even though she didn't know her family, I assumed from the introduction of Haley that she would have some kind of connection. Um, I when I saw that Klaus was leaving Mystic Falls, I was somewhat disappointed, but only because I've come to ship Caroline, which if you guys have seen my other videos, I tell you that I ship Caroline. I wanted to see some Caroline scenes, you know, but I was pretty sure that him leaving was vital to this major plot point that I saw, that I thought was going to occur in the episode, which we see did occur. Rebecca was so right to refer to their family as distrustful acquaintances that share a bloodline. Like the way she said it was really hilarious, but it's kind of true. Um, Not to mention when Elijah said that he'd either help Klaus or the witches depending on his mood. In my opinion, I feel like he'd help Klaus either way, even though he's saying all of these things. At his core, Elijah always think that there's some redemption of Klaus, and I think he's right in thinking that because Caroline sees that same thing too. Sometimes you see it seep out that he can actually, be a good person. It's just, circumstances cause him to be the way how he is and the way how he was brought up. Um, we've been down that road with Elijah before where he said he's not going to help close with something and at the end of the day he betrayed everybody else just to help close. Um, because he's his brother. I love when Elijah makes an entrance in an episode. It's usually sexy and or utterly hardcore, and in this episode it was no different. Also, the questions he asked the witch just about proved my earlier assumption that he'd help Klaus anyway. Even though he tried to trivialize the situation, you know, that it was at the whim of his mood when he was talking to Rebecca. We all knew that he was going to try and help Klaus. Um, I was expectedly happy when Klaus schooled Marcel about New Orleans being his town. I get that Klaus hasn't been there for a while, but Marcel needs to see to it that his people and even him show respect where it is due. He cannot treat Klaus like some random dude visiting. Um, no matter how long he's been away. So earlier I had seen a spoiler on a on a website about Haley's pregnancy, but that didn't stop the scene from being totally shocking. I mean, I saw the spoiler, but just the way how the actors, you know, the way how they brought it in that scene, it was still shocking even though I already knew that was going to occur. It's kind of like when you hear something and you're in disbelief and then it's confirmed. Like the look on Close's face was priceless. Of course, I must discuss that the fact that her pregnancy is, the fact that her pregnancy is even possible. First of all, werewolves are basically human. So since Klaus is partly a werewolf, I think it's logical to assume that it is possible for him to impregnate a human, you know. And when I say human, I mean, werewolves are, I mean, technically a werewolf is supernatural, but they're still a human. So I would equate Haley to a human, so it would make it possible for him to impregnate her. I probably would have thought of this theory earlier if Caroline was human and they were partaking in regular coitus, but alas, I I like close regarding the whole Haley situation as a one night stand, as he said. I mean, I'm not trying to bring down Haley in any way, but I'm pretty sure that we all thought that that situation wouldn't go more than like a one time thing and then done because Klaus is obviously in love with Caroline and not with Haley. Um, I think Joseph Morgan did some of his best work in that scene. I mean, his portrayal of Klaus's emotions when he heard the baby's heartbeat in Haley's stomach even made me feel something. In fact, more than just something, I felt a lot in that scene, and as if that scene was emotional enough, Elijah's attempt to convince Klaus to help the witches was just as emotional. But I think Elijah in that moment was overestimating how Klaus will react. I think it was a bit too fast for him to run along happily and embrace his responsibility to Haley and his child. Um, well, we saw after that, Elijah kind of expected that reaction, so I wonder why he tried already, but I guess, he still tried. 'Cause knowing Klaus, he always needs an indirect nudge in the right direction. When he called Caroline, I thought that scene was really adorable. She's one of the little things about Klaus that makes you realize he isn't as ruthless as he wants everybody to believe, and we see he finally got his indirect nudge near the end of the episode. I think part of the reason he shed a tear is because he loves Caroline and his child will never be birthed by her. I'm not sure moving the whole Michelson family to New Orleans is a good idea in the scheme of things, though I'm pretty sure, Marcel will suspect something and then Haley and the baby may come into trouble. So it was a good thing that Rebecca denied Elijah. I'm pretty sure Elijah isn't going to take Catherine up on her offer. She should know that, yeah, she should know that. She should know that Elijah is not going to do that. Yes, he might love her or have feelings for her, whatever, but I don't think he's going to abandon Klaus because he always seeking a redemption for Klaus. Um, I'm interested to see how Damon and Stefan will fare at their attempt to break Elena. In my opinion, that's the most sound idea they've had in a while, but it's probably more challenging than they bargained for because Elena is pretty resilient. I mean, we might think she's not, but the chick is. Overall, the episode was awesome. You know, though we basically saw none of the main cast, the emergence of this new plot point is very exciting. You know, though in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about what Silas's next move will be. Um, and before I finish, you know, somebody brought up the point about the Silas, not Silas, what Marcel is using to keep the witches in New Orleans at bay. And I've been thinking about it, and I'm really not sure. Like, the only things I can think of that he could possibly be doing is if he find something that is like their kryptonite, you know, like how vervain is for vampires, vervain and werewolf blood, and all of that. So I'm wondering if he found something like that that is like a kryptonite to the witches, and that's what he's using against them. Or, well, what we've seen in the past with how vampires kind of like keep witches at bay is, you know, they enter into a deal with them where they said, you know, they'll protect their family, they won't harm their family, and all of that if in exchange for things. I don't know if that's what Marcel is using, but that's what we've seen happen before. But more than likely, that's not what he's using. Any theories you guys can think of, you know, you can put in the comment section below. I'm interested to hear it, cause I haven't really come up with much theories for what Marcel is doing yet. I mean, I think by the next episode I might be able to come up with some more if they do like fully divulge what he's doing. Um, but yeah, I can't wait till Thursday, and I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Please don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to like this video. You know, share it with your friends who watch Vampire Diaries, of course. And even if you don't watch Vampire Diaries, I have other videos for other shows that I review. Um, check out my links, my Twitter, probably somewhere in the corner. I'll be putting my Twitter. I'll follow you back as long as you're not a spam bot or something. If you follow me, and I'll have conversations with you. Also check out my Facebook page, TB Jamaica, and our Vampire Diaries group. We have 207 lovely members who love discussing the show. So if you want to join, just check the description box and click the link and join up. Thanks for watching my video. Until next time, bye.